right, it's 6:01. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's orders, we're meeting remotely. If you would like to read more about that, it's available on the town website. We're going to start with a roll call. Greg?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
Matt?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Colleen's here, and we have guest town administrator Evan here as well.
Non-voting member of the committee, not just a guest.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Okay. So now we're all set, and we're going to move right on to the first agenda item, which is review the capital plan with the town administrator. So I'm just going to hand it right over to Evan.
Okay, thank you. As we discussed at the last meeting, you should have all received a spreadsheet of the capital requested items. It carries everything, not just what we looked at that we actually brought forward into the plan that I proposed. So I'd like to bring up that screen and maybe we can just walk through that.
Evan, is that everything?
Everything that was entered by any department head or I was given when I started.
Okay, all right, interesting.
So let me go ahead and.
So for example, if we have we've got the truck fleet program for the fire department. They've submitted the stuff near term that they're expecting, but they haven't yet put the whole sort of fleet and that whole program in yet. Is that
Correct?
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
is something that I did talk to Chief Canoyer about.
Yeah.
And he has some different thoughts, I would say, on what needs to be a priority, which I would also assume it might change under the full-time chief.
Yep, sure.
However, he does have, there are, I believe, two truck projects that have been funded in the past and the money was never spent. And so there's $100,000, I believe, for a brush truck, and there's like 26,000 left over in another truck account that was supposed to be allocated towards equipping that truck out. So we've been working with the chief on identifying those expenditures.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's that. So we are working our way through that.
Cool.
So what you'll see here is the spreadsheet is now been sorted, into a status that is under consideration and then submitted. Sorry, the little one got escorted out by my wife, so distracted there. Maybe I'll run through just the ones that are under consideration and give my rationale for how I came to that. Then we can move into maybe some of the ones that were submitted that were not chosen. As I said originally, none of this is set in stone. Kind of did the best we could with the data that we have. So the first three items are all replacements of vehicles that reside at the municipal center. So what we're trying to achieve is the replacement of an old Ford Taurus, an older Ford Explorer, and a old body style Explorer, which I believe is a 98 that is being driven by the engineering department. I did spend some time in each of these vehicles. They are all in extremely rough shape. The recreation vehicle, if you go over 35, it shudders so hard you think you might go into the dashboard. It requires $5,000 of repair to fix that. The Taurus that we have has a pretty violent vibration and rattle that they're trying to fix through a series of alignments, but it seems like there's something maybe wrong with the rack in that car. And then the engineering vehicle is just a box of rust on wheels, really. We've gotten all of our money out of that vehicle and then some. And so what I did was I spent some time looking at kind of that return on investment We get around $3,000 trade-in value for each Explorer that we turn in. And, you know, if you figure on $3,000 a year coming from those trade-ins, offsetting the cost of new cruisers instead of rolling them out into the municipal fleet, plus, you know, the savings we would get with a new vehicle, without that, you know, heavy maintenance, as well as a fuel efficiency of going to these vehicles that are hybrid. You know, I believe we'd save around $500 to $800 annually. It's a little hard to pinpoint because we haven't been doing the maintenance we should. So it skews the data. You know, if we've known this car needs $5,000 of work for 2 years and we never did it, it looks like that car has cost us nothing, but really we just haven't done what we really should do for our staff. And you know, to keep everything on the up and up. So that's how those came to be. And that was in my meetings, my one-on-one meetings with department heads talking about their vehicles. The library team room gate and self-check, which I think may be slightly controversial. This came out of the library's capital requests that were submitted this year. The impetus for this was the addition of a patio off of the library teen room, in which teens can go out and hang out on the patio and then come back into that side door. I picture it as a side door. It's really the door on Upton Street side. And so what Beth is trying to achieve here is to create another RFID scanning area so that when the you know, people try to go out that door, they are being met with the RFID scanner as well as a self-check to ensure that the books are not, you know, leaving without being scanned in. Do you want, maybe can I run through this list and then we can go back for questions? Can we do it that way? If that's good for everybody? Okay, great. Thank you. The next thing is the Ventrac slope mower, snow thrower and sweeper. So this is a project I'm working on with DPW, which includes the use by highway, cemetery, as well as our maintenance department. And so this machine would reside somewhere in the library area during the winter months. We used to do some of that new sidewalk that's in that area, and then do the common as well and the shop centers around the common. It's a little bit smaller than the machine that we generally use for all over town. It's a little bit more nimble and it has the capability of spreading salt as it goes. So that would be something that we'd be able to utilize more efficiently. It also is used for mowing in the summertime, slopes of greater than 30 degrees, as well as areas that are wet and require flotation, i.e. our detention basins. It's really kind of a do-all machine. Now we did, no, let me be more specific. We're waiting for Paul to come back. He's been out, and upon his return next week, we're going to be applying for a $50,000 grant towards the purchase of that machine. So if we fund that in this capital plan and we get that $50,000, obviously we won't spend the 65, we would just spend the delta of that. Now we'll get into the schools, and I do want to note, and I can pull that up, a spreadsheet up if people would like to see. I was given a hierarchy of what the schools wanted to see funded. These items that are on here currently are their priority. And this was reviewed by Jay and Anita in a meeting with myself and Mary as well. And they were very happy with the amount of funding we were able to accomplish, as well as this hierarchy of what was picked. So to go through this really quickly, painting of doors is there's some doors that have some frame issues and need to be painted. And they need to be addressed sooner rather than later. Greg?
I'm just curious what the two different columns are. If you mentioned that, I missed it.
I did not, but thank you for bringing that up. So one is what was requested, and one is what we are proposing in this capital plan. Got it. Okay. So, and I think I don't think they get populated very well here. Let's see if it doesn't do any better. Okay. I will show you, well, let's just go through. I can show you what that looks like, and I'll talk about the rationale. So the second one, you can see the updated restrooms. The original proposal was 50,000. That was originally two different projects that we were able to combine together to create one $80,000 project. And so that's why it shows as being requested at 50 and funded at 80. It makes a little more sense when we look at the grid actually in ClearGov, and we can certainly do that. Installation of screens, replacement is kind of self-explanatory. It's the school that's going into is an older building, doesn't have screens on the windows, as many schools did not when they were built. And the modern problem of having your windows open and bees and all the rest of it, I think is a consideration there. Replacement of ceiling tiles at GMS, boiler repair. Again, I got to pull up the other capital thing to show what schools those are going in, but we can do that if people are curious. Auditorium wall repair. So you will see that it shows up as a 0 request, and we funded at 45. It's because originally it was in the plan at 2026, and the schools felt when they did their hierarchy that was something that needed to be brought forward because of conditions that were happening or are happening at the time currently. And so that's why it shows as 0 requested and funded at 45, because I pulled that forward. Again, if you look at the whole capital plan spelled out, you can see that happened. It just doesn't play well when I export it to Excel. And then the last thing is replacement of furniture. And this is something that they're trying to do on an ongoing basis to try to replace some of their older infrastructure that are in these schools.
You skipped over the roof replacement.
It's only $250,000, so I didn't even bother touching on it. Yes. So the roof replacement is over one of the gyms. And again, I'm not the expert on this. It's certainly Jay or Anita would tell you which one. It's in the capital plan. We can certainly pop to it. But what it is there's a copper roof over one of the gyms that has started to fail, and they're looking to replace that with a metal roof. And that's what that is. I also have Station 2 renovation on here. I touched upon this in my budget presentation last night, just as something to look at. So pretty old building. When you give that building a tour, you can see that the outside is in very rough shape. A lot of the soffits are failing, roof damage, wooden rot, some permeable surface in the brick. And then when you go inside, it is extremely dated, but well kept. You can tell that they've given the building a lot of love. It's freshly painted. It's definitely been spruced up, but it's still, the original everything in that building, including if you go through the pictures, you'll see an original rotary phone that's on the wall in one of the rooms. So it really hasn't been updated. This is a $200,000 project. The first $100,000 would be used expressly to do the building envelope to really get it, protected from the elements. Then we would, use the balance of the 100, if there is any, plus the next 100 to redo the inside and make it a more modern space. So let's see, where am I at now? Lost my place. Station 2. Okay. So replacement of the police department exterior cameras. That's a $25,000 project. The PD has the original cameras. I think that building's 2006, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's in the narrative in there, and in the camera technology has come a long way. So they're looking to upgrade their exterior cameras with a little bit better technology and more functional units. We are looking to replace truck 34. That is an F450 dump truck with a plow. And we are also replacing truck 48. That is one of the big dump trucks. That we're replacing an International, I think it's a 2012. And one of the issues with that particular model year with Internationals, that was one of the first years they brought on DEF for emissions, which is diesel exhaust fluid. They are notoriously finicky, and that truck gives us a lot of trouble and is being moved up in the replacement schedule because it costs us more to maintain that truck than it does other trucks that are older, but that just weren't that model year. So that's what we're looking to do there. South Grafton Community House, painting of the exterior of the building. That is in here. I do want to note that it is funded or it's been requested to be funded through the Community Preservation Commission. If that doesn't go through, then we'll have to take a relook at that and figure out if we need to fund it through this capital plan. I tend to think that we do. I did a site visit there not too long ago, and we're really at the point where we're going to start seeing some significant damage to the wood if we don't get it covered up. It's not just aesthetic. It looks pretty horrible, but it's also, it's exposed to the elements, and I think we really need to pay attention to that. We then have the truck leases, engine 3, and the pumper lease. I do want to point out that we funded in the last capital plan engine 1. That was the replacement of engine 1. And you won't see that in this capital plan. That's because the ban for that truck has not been issued, because that truck is a 420-day wait on the order. So rather than fund it this year and have 2 encumbrances, the finance department wanted us to hold that 1 encumbrance and wait until the first ban is actually due before we start making payments on that truck. The pumper lease, I believe, is 2025. That is up. And then we have the master plan funding at 50,000. And you'll recall that this is phase 2 of that master plan funding. So that is what is under consideration at the current time. And that, as it sits, represents $1,474,052.
And that is through the master plan. Oh yeah, where it says under consideration. Okay. Yep, I see it now.
Yep. Sorry. Yes, I'll move this over to here. This is this column here. Does anybody have any questions on the funded items, or do you want to go through some of the other items? Yes, Sue.
I do have a question.
Sure.
For the Station 2 renovation, are we going to incur any more than 100,000 because there'll be things in that building that are not up to code?
No, I think we've captured all of that. So
Okay.
what, if you go to, if we go over into ClearGov and actually click on that, you'll see a breakdown in there, an Excel sheet that was put together by the fire department. And one of the members of the fire department is a professional cost estimator for construction.
Okay.
So he's the one that developed that plan. And so in my conversations with Chief Canoyer, he felt that there was 1, it was adequately estimated, and 2, that they had considered enough contingency in those numbers to ensure that they can finalize the project.
That's good.
Yeah, I was very impressed with how quickly they developed their plan, and they're doing a great job moving forward.
The auditorium wall repair, which school is that for?
Let me back up and see
It's
if I
the
can.
middle school, Sue.
There you go. Oh, Amy's here. Great. She knows about school.
Here, yeah, it's the middle school. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
back.
perfect, Amy. That's very helpful.
So that goes hand in glove with the replacement of the seats
Mhm.
Yep,
to get rid of the horrible seats that are in there. And in an attempt to turn that into a revenue source for the district. We already have a couple of dance competitions that were originally slated to be in the high school this year, but they got bumped over to the middle school, and the condition in that auditorium, it's embarrassing to charge anybody any money to use that space. I see Colleen cringing. I don't know if you've been in there, Colleen, but it's pretty bad. So we want to, it's not going to take much to spruce it up, but putting a little bit of money here and there into it's going to get it back ship shape. So the seats are being done with MassCore, I believe. So that's,
I believe you're correct. Yeah, I did hear that.
were there other school questions that I missed? I did put in the chat that the roof was North Street School. And
As
that's,
I suspected, yes.
yeah, 'cause
Yes.
that's the one that has 5 sections of roof that all need to be replaced, but yeah.
I heard about that roof at school committee meeting when I was listening to it, so that one I understood.
Oh, it'll be good
Excellent.
to get rid of it. And I think the boiler, I want to say the boiler is South Grafton Elementary.
Okay,
Is there, is there an accessibility component to the restroom updates in the schools?
I'm not aware of any, Matt, but that's because we haven't gotten our study back yet. As you
Okay.
probably are aware, we had a study done, but we were supposed to get the report end of January, early February, and to my knowledge, we have not yet received that report. I would imagine there will be something. that
Yep,
can be
I would
done,
too.
but, as of right now, the answer is no.
Okay, all right. No, that's fair. I just want to make sure that we're kind of keeping in line with, I wasn't sure where we were at with the self eval and, but obviously as that project develops, hopefully that'll be available and we can refer to it. I just want, to the extent possible, as we're taking the accessibility projects off in the, schools, the municipal center, it's sort of, we have a lot of work going on all across town. It'd be good to be reporting against it.
And I believe that you mentioned the self-eval, we actually, when we found out what would be involved with the self-evaluation, there was a decision made at some point, and I'd have to go back and look, but we actually did farm that out.
Okay, good,
Um,
sweet.
yeah. It's a lot, and we don't have any staff to spare.
No, well, it's always better, I find, to have an expert, the kind of third-party view on things. And they do this over and over and over at, multiple municipal facilities. So it just makes sense to hire that out and have somebody who's been through it and knows how to do it at a high quality.
I agree, and I think last year the decision was made to do it self because of COVID, not having strangers in the schools, that kind of thing. But I think this year the rules have changed a little bit.
Mhm.
So I think that was another aspect in that decision. And I'll shut up now. Sorry, Evan.
Oh, I
look
love it,
forward
Amy.
to that.
Very, very, very helpful. That is not my area of expertise, so I really appreciate it.
So
As
Evan, what was your, I'm just thinking about what we did last year with characterizing the requests based on the different elements of, health and safety and, all the different decision criteria. So with this list, what was your process for sort of deciding that these were the right things to fund for this year?
So most of it was based on my interactions and conversations with department heads, and letting them drive that train a little bit.
Yeah.
With any capital plan, and especially now that we've got ClearGov and it's this new tool, people dump everything into the immediate fiscal year. And then, it's up to us to sort it out. So if you want me to run down some of the ones that didn't make it, I can give you the rationales for why they didn't go. And I think that kind of makes it more clear of why I funded some of the other things or proposed the funding, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Let me back up for 1 second. The vehicles replacement that I'm requesting through here for engineering, recreation, and assessors, After riding in and viewing those vehicles, I thought that those were safety issues for our staff that I wanted to address. They're not nice to haves. They're really, in my opinion, they're must haves. We could do the fleet replacement through the police department. I just think we're going to be right back here again. And facing, maintenance costs and safety issues that I don't really think we need to deal with for a vehicle that is 24,000 new that should last us about 10 years. Just the ROI doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that this makes sense.
Have you, for those, considered electric vehicles, full electric?
So I would love to do electric. One of the problems that we're going to run into with electric right now is that we have no charging stations other than the library.
Yep.
And so it's a little chicken or the egg, right? So what we're looking to do is fund charging stations through green communities
Okay.
or a similar grant opportunity,
Yep. Okay.
and then fund electric cars through the grant opportunity that you can get after you have charging stations.
Sure.
And so what I was anticipating would be that, these vehicles, engineering has to bring stuff with them on a pretty consistent basis that is, SUV or small pickup truck necessary. Same requirements for recreation. Assessors could probably get away with an all electric vehicle,
Yep.
as could our staff vehicle that's there as well. So what would happen with the assessor's vehicle is we would get an electric vehicle through the grant program for the assessors and cycle this assessor's vehicle over to the municipal maintenance department as a use for their fleet vehicle, because they don't really need that monstrous F-250 that they're running. And it gets commandeered by the highway department every winter for plowing anyways.
Got it.
So that's kind of my long range projection or thought process of how we would get there.
Okay.
If they start making an affordable all electric small pickup, I would change over to that in a heartbeat.
Sure. They're coming.
Yeah.
I guess it's just something that I want to keep on the radar, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it'll be a great opportunity. I do think we're going to see a lot. Well, there's already a lot of grant money available.
Yep.
So, we should be capitalizing, taking advantage of that while it's available. And so I'm in full support of that process. That makes sense. Talking about grants, the cameras at the police station, that seems like something that there should be grant money available for. They usually get equipment grants for various things. I'm just sort of across the board here. Have we evaluated opportunities for grants rather than paying for
Yep.
things out of the budget? So
Yes. So let me get to that real quick. So the exterior cameras, there's the potential that we could do that through an IT grant. I had already projected to try to use the next iteration IT grant for some server replacement projects that I have and a couple of switches. So I'd like to reserve our grant capacity for that. I also I actually met with the chief for a couple hours today. We do have an earmark that we've requested that we would potentially use for this. However, we're looking for 2 training tools, which are simunition based, and it's basically officer situational awareness and active shooter training modules that we're looking to fund with that. And those are pretty much the 2 avenues I would use to fund that.
Okay.
And so that's why I chose to go this way.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. I got hands here.
It was Kyle, then Sue, then myself. I don't know if Sue still has her question or not, but definitely Kyle. then Sue.
Hi, Kyle.
Hi, so actually it piggybacks well off what Matt was just saying. Have we done any evaluation? I see kind of further down about library solar panels. We're replacing a lot of roofs on the school and potentially on the fire station. Not sure what's all going on there, but have we done any evaluation on solar on the schools as we're replacing the roofs? And I guess how does that process work? Is this we'll have to request it, or?
I know this.
Go ahead, Amy.
That's a great question, Kyle. To date, we have put solar panels on all of the roofs that can accept them. We're getting, I want to say we're up to $60,000 a year that we're getting. Or no, 60,000 over the course of a 20-year contract. So it's not as great as we'd hoped, but I know that Millbury Street, the high school, I think North Street is one of those ones that's tough because of how it faces and because there are 5 sections of roof, all of which still need to go. The one we're going to replace is the one most in need. I think it's section D. But yes, that is definitely something that every time we're looking into any sort of roof work of any kind, we're looking to see if it makes sense. I think South Grafton actually has some on it now as well. But what we ran into is that National Grid can only accept so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I know that we had to wait a while on Millbury Street, even though they had just built that nice substation. We had to wait till they could accept more. So maybe we were a little too eager, but that's for sure something that we're looking into. Unfortunately, the savings for us isn't really what we'd hoped.
Yeah.
But at least it's the right thing to do, I guess. It sets a great example for the community.
Yeah, and especially if we're, considering electric charging and all that, it's,
Yep.
yeah, on the same vein. So cool.
Totally.
Thanks for answering, Amy.
So yes, thank you, Amy. So we have solar panels on the roof for the municipal center as well. Station 2, I don't think we would consider solar there. It's not a big building. We just didn't really factor it in, to be honest with you. I don't know that the ROI is going to be there. One thing that I do want to pursue, and I asked we'll see if it flies or not, but I would love to see us through the municipal vulnerability program apply for a grant and do a solar canopy at the municipal center. That would give us more solar options, but also be an offset to our charging stations, as well as help us with winter weather and stormwater. So I would love to do a project like that. But that's probably, at the rate that all that goes through MVP and all the rest of it, it's 5 years from now, realistically. It's just not a fast process, but I would just absolutely love it. There's a small array in Stafford, Connecticut, where they have their municipal fleet underneath it. And it's really cool. They've painted it this almost like that historic green that you see on historic buildings. And it's got a dome to it a little bit. And it just looks really classy in their municipal lot. And it's doing a job too. So I guess that's my town administrator dream, I guess, is to have a solar canopy. But that's I think where we are with solar right now.
Great, thank you.
All right. So I think then it was Sue.
Yes, I first I have a comment, then I have a question. Comment on vehicles. I'm not surprised that they shimmy and shake with the roads we have around here. So that concerns me about an electric car. Will they hold up? My question is, when I was going through this list and I noticed that you didn't take into consideration the Council on Aging minivan that
Yes.
they've been requesting.
Yes, I am anti-senior. No, I'm kidding. I talked to Barb and she did not want to replace it this year. She wanted to push that off with the current way that they are delivering services. She did not see the need and asked that we hold off. It actually was on my list of things to fund, and it was at her urging that I pushed it off.
Okay.
So I would anticipate that we would see that in the next fiscal year.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. And I'm kidding. I love the senior population, and
You better say that.
I work very well with the senior center, I think.
I'm gonna
All
let
right.
Amy go and then I'll ask my question.
Okay.
I had a dumb question, actually. And now I forget what it was. Oh, do we have charging stations currently or other than the library?
No.
So is that a cost that we would incur separately, or how does that work?
Yep. And so one of the challenges is if we're going to add charging stations at the municipal center, it touches other things that need to be worked on, so we're gonna bore through the side of the building and into the basement and make sure we have capacity and so on and so forth. So that is on our radar for something to do. We did not build out, electric stations at Highway when that was built. And there are none at Sewer either. Now, to be fair, they don't run any of those vehicles, and they're probably unlikely to in any major way. And they're also not really in a great location where you might have residents that would come, or, people that were traveling through that are going to stop. That's one of the reasons I'd like to see it at the municipal center, because I think not only could we grow our electric fleet, but it would likely be a place that, parents coming to pick up their kids might grab a quick charge, or, a little park and ride type of activity, charging up your vehicle. So that's really why I was leaning kind of towards our next step being municipal center.
Maybe even school parking lots for faculty, staff, and students at the high school.
Yes, maybe the chair of the school committee should consider that.
Well,
Some economies of scale for there.
Yeah.
I was gonna actually say that I know that there are schools that have the solar canopy
Mhm.
technology. There's one in Upton, and I think that would be awesome. I
Yeah,
think we have that parking lot at the high school there is a headache for many, many other reasons. So I think that would be something that down the line I'd love to see, but I think for right now, with everything else we have going on, it's definitely a nice thing. It's not a required thing, but I'd love to
Right.
see.
oh, I love it. My town vehicle in my previous municipality was an electric car. And it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. It was a little Nissan Leaf. The wheels on it are like the same size as a dinner plate. And it's real. It's not cool. Thank God I'm already married, because, I would never get a second look. But the thing was really fast for being a little Nissan Leaf. And not that I ever sped with it. But also, I could go a week and a half without charging it easy with my normal town administrator kind of driving. So I really believe in the technology, and I think they're really cool. I'd love to get us in that direction. Colleen, you had your
Yep.
hand up.
I did. So before you start going over the projects that didn't quite make the cut, I did have a question. What did you happen to find the exact total we have in capital stabilization currently? Just so I can kind of keep in mind if I see something that I thought maybe, yeah, we should float that up a little more.
Yes. One second. I gotta find my. Sorry, I'm going through a large spreadsheet here. Are you seeing all my spreadsheets or no?
No.
Nope.
Okay, good. Good, because I'm fumbling around in them. Leave those off the screen here. Just give me 1 second. I apologize. Should have located that sooner. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting this to do what I want it to do. It's over $2 million. But I will, as we go, I will figure out where I parked that. That was the number I left out of my presentation yesterday.
Yeah, and there was a ballpark yesterday. I'm like, oh, we'll have the exact amount tonight. Sorry, I should have
Nope.
asked
No,
earlier.
I should have prepared that for this. Yes, Amy.
I just had a question about the South Grafton Community House.
Yeah.
Is that figure for the work to be done by staff, or is that figure for the work to be farmed out?
Farmed out.
Okay.
It's really kind of beyond our scope to do that ourselves, in my opinion.
You could always have the Boy Scouts do it for you.
Sure. Done. Done.
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be, it'll be cheaper if we have BVT come in and do it. Like, we had people suggesting we do that with the HVAC at the middle school. Like,
Yeah,
let's have the BVT HVAC students come in and what? No.
yep. I do love that. I mean, there are opportunities where that works and there are other opportunities where that does not work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Colleen, so we're over 2 million. I'm getting the exact amount through. I will be doing that as we talk here. I apologize. I should have queued that up, and I'm just fumbling around through my 9 spreadsheets here. So, all right. So is that all right, Colleen? Can I just move my way down?
Yeah,
Yes, Greg?
totally.
Oh, well, you said this was just under 1.5
Yes,
for the current capital plan?
correct. Yep. All right. All right, so you'll see here, this is not a request for fiscal 23. This was the town clerk's counter accessibility project. So currently you have to go into the clerk's office and then there's just this one little accessible spot to the right. Doesn't really meet, and it's something that we would like to do better with. The reason it's not in fiscal 23 is that we have some substantial work to do before we even get an architect in to give us a design of what that would look like. The consideration is whether or not you would stay in the hallway or you would go inside. There is a lot of other things that need to be fleshed out before we pull the trigger on that. Yes, Greg?
So this is separate from the other service windows that were presented in last year's budget.
Yeah, so in last year's budget, I did I actually had an earmark for it, but for part of it, I did the building department customer service window. So I'm going to be applying for another earmark this year, and I would like to use that funding to do the customer service window at the assessor's office. So the idea is to get all of the offices a fully accessible customer service window. And so that's what we're working our way down. Well, not really down the hallway because we kind of jumped all around kind of as a hierarchy. Yes, Sue?
I just want to know if it's all right with you, Colleen, can we talk about a couple of items that didn't make it?
Yeah, I think he was gonna go through all of the ones that didn't make it, but if you guys, if it's easier to
If
cherry.
you have,
pick them,
if you have
ever-
other things, yeah, please just jump right in.
Do you want me to say what two I was? Okay.
Absolutely, Sue.
I
Go
was-
ahead.
For safety issues, I was wondering, what is it? Was it a safety issue not replacing the fire alarm panel at the schools?
No, so it's something that needs to be upgraded, but they did not feel it needed to be funded in this fiscal year.
And the other question I had, and I know it's a big expense, and I'm just out of curiosity, is the library generator. I'm still dumbfounded that it wasn't included in the construction when it was built, but if anything goes, if they lose electricity in the library, what is their backup for?
There is not one. The reason that is not in this capital plan is I would like to pursue ARPA funding for that first.
Okay,
That's really the only reason. I'm right there with you. I don't know why it wasn't included in that project. But I believe it will be ARPA eligible, and it's something that I have on that list that I'd like to see us. I'd rather use their money than your money.
Right.
So if that
Thank
makes sense.
I was wondering because I thought if those lights go out and there's people in the library.
So they do have emergency lighting, so they'll be able to get out.
Okay,
My bigger concern is that if we lose electricity in the wintertime, you do not want that building to freeze. I mean, that's when you run into all kinds of a whole host of issues. So even in facilities that aren't going to be used as a shelter or a 24/7 operation, you really should build in a generator that's going to at least at the bare minimum do the building management system and heating system.
okay.
And I don't know why that wasn't done, but that's why it's not in here.
Okay, that's all I have so far.
Okay, Greg?
That reminded me of another question I had earlier that I forgot about.
Sure.
Did all of the money from the library renovation project get used, or is there still money sitting around in that account or that project, or however that?
When you say renovation, you mean the new
Yeah.
renovation and new library, the one project?
The
Okay.
new library, yes.
I'm just making sure that we're on the same page. So there is some money, but that building is now in the final phases where you are arguing about punch lists and monetizing things that weren't done properly or that weren't done to your liking or that they're not going to be able to complete or whatever it is. Usually it's small stuff. And so what we've done is we've really hit pause on anything that's going to bring us close to our capacity there. Because I want that to play out before we, do like a final calculation and say, oh, we can fund this, $20,000 request at the library.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was thinking was, is there room for that $24,000 gate and self-check under the project? But if that project's not wrapped up yet, then that really doesn't work for that. So, thanks.
Nope. Yep. That's kind of where I'm at with that too, Greg. Amy?
Yeah, it's funny Greg brought that up because we were in separate rooms, and I was thinking about that self-checkout station too, that, we have so many needs, and, that's definitely something that should have been included in the project,
Yep.
as well as the cupola, which we talked about last year. They came to us and submitted a request.
Yes.
And I think that, we need to spread this money around.
Yeah.
And, I have a hard time with that teen, and I have 2 teenagers who would love that self-checkout, by the way, so they're going to kill me. But I have a hard time with that because there are so many other
Mhm.
bigger needs.
Yep.
I think, in my opinion, that the library is nice and shiny and new, and they have all this great stuff. And, I'm looking at this list of things that didn't get funded, and I'm like, but why? Like,
Right.
other facilities that need some TLC.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to say is the HVAC fencing.
Yes.
I really want to take a hard look at that. I don't think that's necessary. I
It
know.
is 100% not necessary.
Okay. So
It is purely aesthetic. So I just want to point out one thing. These are the items that were requested.
okay.
I do not, my personal philosophy is that I don't tell people they can't request something,
Mhm.
but we don't have to fund it. And so I like to know that that's a want. I don't foresee that with all our other capital needs getting to the top of the list for an aesthetic want. But I also don't tell people that they can't submit. I did want to, what's that?
I understand that. I just know that
Okay.
historical has really been pushing it,
Yeah,
and you cannot see those units from the ground.
no, I'm right there with you, Amy. I agree.
Okay.
I'm right. We're on the same page. If I do want to point something out, if we were to remove or not fund that library request, my personal second choice or choice to replace that would be this municipal center handicap accessibility. One of our exterior doors, the one over on the end by the food bank, is not accessible. And that for my money, that would be where I would want to see that go.
You mean the one by the elevator?
Yes, sorry, one by the elevator.
That I use all the time.
Yeah, I'm just listen, I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just saying that
No,
it's
no,
not.
no. I agree. I was actually going to say
The
so
one by
moved.
the elevator should be accessible.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
was-
know,
So moved.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like anything that has to do with accessibility as opposed to inconvenience. Yeah, it's going to be inconvenient for the kids who want to go read on the patio to go the other direction to check out. I mean, it's not that far.
right.
And then turn around and walk back out to the patio. But I think they can handle it for a while. I really do. And I love our library and I support our library, but you know, I can't
Yep.
I can't sit here and say that I'm in favor of that when we've got an inaccessible door or roofs that need repair or, you know, all this other stuff.
But it's both the RFID gate and the self-checkout, right?
Yes.
I could see splitting that one up. But the gate for loss prevention, and that's it. I don't know what that would do to the cost, but that might be something to explore.
Okay. All right, so I don't know what order we're in, but maybe Matt, then Colleen, or how was that?
Sure,
Yeah.
I just had a quick one. I'm curious why the website renovations didn't make it.
It's ARPA eligible.
Okay. Fine.
So that was in the capital when I presented to CIPC last time, I believe. I pulled it out because I want to see if we can get that through the ARPA committee first.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I mean, as I would, I guess, echo something that Amy said around, we should continue to prioritize accessibility.
Yep.
To me, the website accessibility was, as we think about providing services to residents, that's probably the biggest one at this point, bigger than any of the counters that we're going to have at
Yep.
the municipal center. So I just,
Yeah, no, we fully intend that is going to be a 2023 or a 2022/2023 calendar year project.
Yep.
I want to go after the ARPA dollars first. I
Sure.
think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that's in there. If we don't get the ARPA dollars, will that end up getting funded?
Yeah, so what I would anticipate is we'll know before March probably if ARPA's on board with that, and then we can kick that over to the select board.
Perfect.
If they are not, then I would push that into this capital plan.
Okay, very good. All right,
I
thank you.
don't think Will would let me get away with not doing it. He's been so excited that I think he would just curl up in a little ball.
I'm glad. It's been a long time coming. It's not just accessibility, it's just the basic navigation, finding things and, so it really needs a total redo. So I'm just maybe as excited as well as about that one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great project. We're excited about it.
Cool. Okay.
Colleen?
So it's gonna go back to the library thing and it was the same exact project you had decided you would prefer, or you would select over the library if it was push come to shove. I just wanted to say that's why I had to raise my hand, but then you stole it from me. So.
Okay. Okay. I know that there was some talk about, in one of my conversations about the clerk and, the touchscreen kiosks for agendas. So what we're planning on doing is in the vestibule or entry area of the municipal center where you've got those walls of paper, they would be replaced with a touchscreen in both locations that you can interact with and see different agendas and navigate other functions of town government right there. I don't know why I have to do this while I do it, but that's what it looks like, I guess, when you're doing it. However, Mary and I have been spending some time looking through past funded projects, and the clerk's office has a technology project that is different, but that was not executed and was already funded. And my personal philosophy is we're going to clean that up before we add another project. It's not the kiosk thing is really cool, and I think it actually increases our accessibility even in that way as well. But I don't like to add another thing if we haven't expended the funds we already have for a project. So I'd really like to see us clean that up first.
Well, I'm happy we're spending more than $1 million, that we're up to almost 1.5. I think that's a first for us. Right, Matt?
Sure is. No, it was nice to see that we've had an increase between last year and this year. So we've had this successive additional investment each year. And, so hopefully that trend will continue. And, I took your point from the budget hearing last night, Evan, that, with some of this stuff, we want to reserve some capacity to be able to do larger initiatives.
Mhm.
So I don't think we want to be spending all of it every single year, but, and that was part of the reason that I was asking about some of the longer term requests where,
Mhm.
we've got all the immediate stuff in that we want over the next couple of years, but presumably over the next year or two, we'll start to fill in some of those longer term requests to be able to predict how much capacity we're going to need for certain things that can't be funded via other means.
Sorry. Yes, I agree 100%. I think that you will see, I don't think, I know you will see this capital plan really flourish and be built out in a true 5-year way. Let me, I want to show you something, you folks, something real quick. Amy or who, I don't know who was first. Amy, do you want to go? And then we'll go to Kyle.
Yeah, it was me. I just had a question about the South Grafton Community House because I was looking at the list there and there's lots of items that need to be done and I don't have a really good sense. I've been in it once and I've
Mhm.
lived here since 1998. What is it? What is it used for? Does it make sense for the town to continue to own it? You're rubbing your eyes. You didn't want to have this conversation tonight.
No, it's fine, Amy. You're just, slowly killing me. It's
Sorry.
so there's multiple things. So as a non-Grafton resident, I don't have any emotional connection to that space.
I do.
Yep. So then there's the Sues of the world that do. And so I think that the space, I spent some time down there. One, it's got a great backyard that goes straight down to the water, which is the Blackstone, I believe, right there. I think it could be a space that is utilized more, and a space that's, really special to that area of Grafton. That is South Grafton, correct?
Yes.
I got real nervous for a second. I was gonna say that wrong, and then then I'm in the paper tomorrow. So I it is underutilized. It needs some love, but I think it's got some great potential to be used more consistently as meeting space, as event space, as just more of a hub of South Grafton for events that we're doing there.
Do rent it out. Isn't there an Indian tribe using it currently?
Yes, it's kind of the back portion of the building. There's a meeting space there that the Nipmucks are using.
Right.
And then the VFW is in there. No, VFW? Yes,
Yes.
I think the VFW is in there as well.
But they rent it out for bridal showers and for birthday parties and for campaign events. So it gets used. I don't know if it's used weekly or how much monthly, but
It's been underutilized because of COVID.
yeah.
And if you go there, Amy, if you want to get a tour, I can set that up. Everything is crooked, and I can't figure out whether the floor is crooked, the ceiling is crooked, or the pictures are crooked.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time moving everything around, trying to make my brain understand what was happening, and I couldn't. But that's part of its charm, to be quite honest with you. It's got a tin ceiling, and it's a neat little space.
Probably all of the above.
Yeah, it probably is.
And I think
It's like was that Happy Gilmore? You're only wearing one shoe.
Yeah,
Everything slants to the left. No, you're only wearing one shoe.
South Grafton doesn't get a lot of stuff down there. I
I've heard
think they get neglected a little bit, and some parts of North Grafton as well. But to take that away from South Grafton, I think would be a travesty because it's a historical building, sort of. And it's kind of a landmark for them in South Grafton. So
I agree with you, Sue. I think it's something that should be invested in and something we should do, use more meaningfully.
Yeah.
Or if we're not going to do that, we should sell it and look for some other way to invest in South Grafton. But I think since we have the asset already, we're going to be putting some money into it. We should sort of reimagine what it could become. Because, I hear what you're saying, Evan. I think it is underutilized, and it's a great asset in a part of town that doesn't get a lot of investment, frankly.
Especially if it's CPA eligible.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep, absolutely.
currently overseeing the little budget that they have, And I know that there's been a lot of donations put into that building by some of the
Mhm.
seniors down there that have been around a long time out of their own pocket.
Yes.
And
And that's
that
evident
was-
when you tour the space, just in the furniture and the kind of, we'll call it artifacts for lack of a better term, baseball jerseys and all kinds of stuff. You can tell
Oh,
that that's an
Not,
important space for South Grafton.
but I know
um,
there was time when some of them took out of their own pocket painting, to do painting, they did it themselves. So
Oh.
there's been a lot of personal investment put into that building by
Yeah.
some that was down there, so,
I didn't know, Sue, that I could use senior labor to paint that place.
yeah, you could.
That's a whole
We have
new, that's a
we
whole
have a
new
very
avenue.
active work-off program.
Yes,
Yeah.
very active. Here's a lift. Go to the second floor. No, I mean, you can tell that it is both, it needs some love. And
Yes, it
so,
does.
we're gonna do some landscaping around there in-house. There's some really overgrown roadies, especially in the back, that are holding moisture against the building, which are just exasperating our problems. It doesn't look like it's had a fall cleanup there in quite a while, so we're gonna do some of that. And we're just gonna start chipping away at it. I don't think it's something that I would come to you and say, we should do a $500,000 renovation. I think it's something that we should cherry pick the most needed items and get there over time. And I think it could be a really cool space that we can use more.
I agree.
Okay, so I just want to chime in before Sue kills me,
Okay.
that I live within walking distance of it. And I think it's great. I'm not saying that like we should get rid of it. I was merely asking the question because it is underutilized, and
No,
if we're gonna
You
make
said
it better,
that-
great.
I think it's a great question, Amy.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And if anybody asks, Amy would like to dispose of the property.
Yes.
No,
That's the takeaway. That's what I heard.
Why don't we sell it?
That's what I heard.
I
Um,
said if we're not gonna use it, why don't we sell it? Sue Ann,
I think
I
Kyle's
haven't
been,
been here that
Kyle's a-
long, and
yeah.
I've been to several meetings there, so you're missing all the fun meetings down there.
let's start meeting there. We'll meet there tomorrow.
Yeah, that was the first goals meeting was down there.
well,
Yeah.
I want to do a campaign event there now, so
You
Go for
did last
no, I
time.
didn't. That
There you
wasn't
go.
mine.
Okay, Kyle, you've had
Oh,
your
that's
hand up
true.
for
It
a
was
while
just a
before
candidate.
we got into all of that.
That time that Amy pissed off all her neighbors.
That was entertaining. So that was great.
Yeah.
So just quick question about totally pivoting from the South Grafton Community House. Just wanted to know with the election box cameras, is that something that is looked to be funded out of a different source, or why is,
Yeah.
what is the explanation
Yeah,
there?
I'd like to, that's a great point that you mentioned, because that was something that I had identified for part of our IT grant.
Okay.
There's also some grant opportunities through the clerk's office and the Commonwealth that I'd like to explore for that too.
Okay.
Here's my personal problem. So that project comes in at like $17,000, and it adds a camera server and some storage and a couple of cameras. But the camera system in the municipal center is actually a Lorax, like you would get at Costco. So what I would like to see is us put together a project to just upgrade the camera system. And we have no exterior, I shouldn't probably say this on TV. There's no exterior cameraing at the municipal center, which is problematic because, that's where a lot of your municipal liability lies, slip, trips, falls, all of that stuff, as well as added security. So the reason I did not select that one up is that I think it's too limited in scope and that we could do a better job capturing the actual needs of the building and just doing it all as one.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. There's more than just the election box out there, so that all makes sense. And yeah, there's a lot going on. Okay, cool. Thanks.
I believe the police department cameras that are there now can see it.
Correct. So when we're in election, thank you, Greg. When we're in election time, we can turn the PTZ camera, and focus on that for that short period of time to make sure we have election security, but also, we're not adding a $17,000 one camera type thing. Matt?
Thanks. Yeah, as we're doing, I guess, conceptualizing or designing that, also maybe the one at the police station, they're redoing their cameras. Do we have a spot for people to meet to exchange goods?
We
I
do
love
not, but it is something on my radar.
Okay.
that I thought of, quite frankly, too late to add a sign, because of
Okay.
the weather. Yeah,
It's listed in the police department proposal that they do that now.
All right. Yeah. So wherever it needs to happen, I think that's something that I've seen in a lot of other towns, and it's, just for resident safety, meeting people from out of town for whatever needs.
Yep.
It's a great opportunity. So yeah, as long as that's on somebody's radar.
Yep,
Great.
absolutely. That's definitely something that I think we could use.
Cool.
So you're seeing the capital budgeting scenario comparison now, correct? So this is what I wanted to show you is essentially the problem with our current capital plan, is that everybody front loads it at fiscal 23, and then, we taper off real quick. This really, with what we should have in our capital plan, with the amount of capital we have, should be a much more horizontal line. And so once we get through this capital round, that's what the focus of our next capital summit is getting people to do two things. One is using a universal rating system for their projects. And the second part is recognizing that not everything, we don't need the fiscal 23 shotgun approach where we just throw everything at one thing and see what sticks. We need to be having a more concerted conversation about how the plan works and how we build a stable plan over time. So we're going to get there. We're honestly, we're not there now. That's something that needs to be worked on. Colleen, I apologize. I was not thinking this through. We have $2,012,375 in available in capital stabilization. Yep, I put that in there and just was not remembering how I could show that to you. So this is a cool tool. I just want to show you really quick. These are our bullet graphs. These show where each capital item is funded, as well as what is available, and then what was requested for that cycle. Again, it's fiscal 23. So if you go over to fiscal 24, we got some issues that we need to resolve. It's not really showing us anything of value because we haven't done a good job of shifting this stuff over. Once I close fiscal 23's capital plan, all of that rolls into 24 and will give us a starting point. But it's really not the best way to capital plan. You will also see here, if I go down, this is municipal stabilization that we're not using any. This is our free cash, and this is our CPC. So it does break that apart for you pretty well. And then what I was thinking we could do, Amy, I see your hand up.
Yes. How do you plan to capture ARPA expenditures here? Would that just be a separate piece like the community preservation piece?
I think so. We're planning on meeting with the ClearGov rep because I want to know if any other communities are doing it differently. Because you could do it one of two ways. I could add it as a revenue source like I did here with community preservation. Or I could make it its own capital plan. And the reason that you'd want to do that is it would segregate the funds so that it wouldn't look like you're funding, $5.5 million in this year, and then everybody freaks out. It would show them in two distinct places. But there may be some other way to do that I haven't thought through yet. And so that's why I'm kind of hoping for ClearGov to have some thoughts.
That's a great.
Yeah.
I wonder if they are going to build something in because ARPA is federal.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And there's a ton of money. So we will see. I'm just scrolling down here quick because I'm going to move that other project over here. Show you how easy. There you go. We're done. It's now in the capital plan. So when we go back to our dashboard, the change we discussed is now represented at 1,484,750. Pretty cool and pretty easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. This is Mary. If Mary Laurie would here, she'd be laughing because she talks about this being my baby because I I have so many hours into this capital plan. And literally every Monday we meet, I have this up on the screen to show her what I've done. And she finds it hilarious. So
Did she give you an A+?
she did. She actually said, she's like, that is really a beautiful plan you put together. And I was like, wow. The other day she called me an idiot. So,
Get a double A
I guess I
plus.
take it where I can get it.
The Gold Star Capital Plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're getting there. It's a work in progress, but I think we're really making some strides here. All right. Do we want to go back to the list? Does anybody have any more specific questions, comments, thoughts, any concerns you have? Anything at all?
I have a thought but Amy has her hand up.
I think she just didn't put it down.
All right.
I always have my hand up. I
Okay.
was gonna ask if
Oh,
we're supposed to vote on this tonight.
If you would like to, if you felt comfortable, that would be fine. If you want to cogitate more on it and come back, that's okay too. I mean, I'm not running the committee. Sorry, Colleen.
You're doing a great job.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, I was asking Madam Chair, not you, Evan.
I know. Well, she said I can call on people, and now I'm drunk with power. So, you know.
Well, I would like to hear what Colleen has to say before we make that decision. So,
I'd like to see us swap out the library kiosk for the accessible door at the municipal center,
I did
and
that.
then vote on that. So that's done.
I already did.
he did
Okay.
it.
Handled right before your very eyes.
I missed it.
Did it move?
The worst.
Yeah. So now it shows up right here. Grafton Memorial Center handicap accessible doors here, right here.
And the 484. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to go through the rest of the list first, just to make sure there's nothing else that jumps out as, yeah, this should be done this year?
More than happy to do that. Madam Chair, are you in agreement to do that?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Let me get back to the spreadsheet real quick.
I do have a question that's kind of off topic. The last time we talked, the cruisers were out of the operating budget, but we've now been hit with BBT. Is that possible? We're going to see go back into the capital plan? Not at all. Okay, great.
I mean, I never say never, but at the current time, I have no intention of doing that. This is the wrong one.
Okay. And then do we know any more about George Hill? Did that we were awarded money? Any updates on where that's going? And does that get a project page in ClearGov? Because it's kind of in process at this point.
It does not. We have not incorporated any asphalt management into the capital plan yet.
Mhm.
Again, I think that may be an opportunity to have a separate capital plan. I know we don't want to have 40 capital plans, but it may be an opportunity for us to do it there.
George
but I
Hill
have
seems
not-
kind of out.
Stabilization fund, that's probably sensible.
I'm sorry.
Are we supposed to be doing some engineering designs?
Yes, so that is ongoing.
Right.
George Hill to me seems outside the asphalt management plan, and I think a lot of people will want to follow that and where it is in the process. So having a page for that specific one, I think would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Well, I think one of the things that we can do, even if we put that, if we decide to codify asphalt as its own capital plan in here, road work in there, all we have to do is tell it to make a project page, and now there's a project page just for George Hill Road that residents can go and follow along as they go. That might be something we want to consider. I could put it into the capital plan. I got to make sure that we create the right revenue tracker so that it doesn't impact our other data and skew, I want it to look like it looks now in the budget book.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there's a way to do it. I guess there's a short answer, but I don't know that I have an
really
answer.
Appreciate that you would single us out for protests on our road because it's going to be so expensive. So
Yeah.
give them your own page and let them know where we all live. So it's okay. We were
So,
gonna do some stuff.
yep, sorry. Got sidetracked for just a second. Here we go. Okay. So I had kind of jumped down a little bit. Let me go back up. So we have talked about the library generator. If I could just digress for a second. So this cupola repair and restoration. I did ask for that to be created into a CPC grant application by the library director. I think that that is a CPC eligible project, as well as coupling that with a historic preservation grant through the state. So I'd like us to apply for all of those monies. In talking with Beth, she did not feel that, this is a project that if we don't do it this year is going to create any kind of catastrophic outcome. So I would like to go after those grant dollars before we request anything else. That's the same of what I would like to see happen with the clock repair and restoration, as well as the historic furniture in that room. I don't know if the furniture will wind up being eligible. It might have to be a split kind of funding, but it's something that I had thought about. Do you want me to just keep going down, or you want to,
Yep.
does anybody have anything specific? Yeah, just keep going down. Okay. Replace the boathouse. So I spent some time on the boathouse. This is at Silver Lake. It's really a garage. I think Ray Mead actually built it. And it's a garage that they're trying to use as a first aid station and staff meeting area. I don't know that, I do not believe that our cost estimates show that $50,000 into that building is going to make it be what they want it to be. And so I asked Jen to work with me on maybe finding some alternative ways to get to what she's trying to do. You could build a separate structure that was just for first aid and staff, I think for a fraction of the money, that could be temperature controlled, with air conditioning in the summer. And now you're not trying to, my concern in going over that project in detail was that, we're trying to make a garage into a habitable space when we could probably create a habitable space for a fraction of the cost outside of that. So that's why we did not fund that into this, as I know it keeps coming up. The farther I dug into it, the more it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Is that something that also would be CPC eligible?
So that's a great question. The short answer is, I think so. It is
Okay.
outdoor recreation. But I would have to, I don't know if I've ever come across doing a structure like that.
Okay,
I'd have to look at that, Matt, to be honest with you. I don't know that I have that top of mind.
okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd like to skip the public school stuff unless Amy wants to go through it. I am not the expert on a lot of these things. I simply did what was requested by the superintendent.
Can we just go back up a little bit to the phosphorus removal?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, sorry, I'm
Yep.
sorry. So go ahead.
I know we've done it in the past, but I wonder why we couldn't put it on the capital list for this year. Why did you pass it up?
So in meeting with Paul Canoyer,
Yep.
he is going to fund a portion of that through the sewer account, most of the design. And that is, we believe 100% ARPA funding eligible. So again, we'd like to put that on the list and see if that's something that people are interested in funded
All right.
before we do it here. It is also, we obviously want to capture our phosphorus before it gets to the river sooner rather than later. But Paul seemed pretty confident that we're on track for
Yeah.
getting that in a timely manner, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Jump down here quick.
So as far as the schools go, the only thing that I wanted to mention, and
Yep.
you even see it on the list, so pardon my, the font is very tiny. There is another project that we are attempting to get funded by CPC, and that is the South Grafton Elementary School playground accessibility.
Yeah.
Now that all of the town playgrounds are done, we have this one playground that's just, it's just in terrible shape. And it's like a $280,000 project. It's not top of list for the district this year, but it's gonna need, we know it's gonna come up in that evaluation that we're having done. We know it. So we've submitted a request to CPC to see what happens if we can get some or all of it funded this year. And if not, that might actually pop back into this. So it wasn't requested this year that I could see, but I wanted to make sure that that was represented somewhere because it is a project that needs to exist.
Yep.
I don't know where it went because I know it was on the list last year.
So if Jay and Anita were planning on doing that through CPC, they might not have submitted it because they maybe were taking a different approach than I take. It's something that we can certainly circle back with them on, and I have no
Yeah,
problem.
they weren't
including it in.
planning. They weren't planning to submit to CPC. That was my idea.
Okay.
They
I
had
think
applied-
it's a great idea. Yeah.
They had applied to, I believe it's a state grant
Yep.
for accessibility, and we've applied along with the Disabilities Commission 2 years in a row and been denied.
Okay.
So that's probably why it's not there.
Mhm.
But we're applying the CPC this year. We've been denied for the state grant twice. We'll probably apply for it next year if we don't get CPC. But if not, we're going to get to the point where that's going to need to be on this list. And it's going to have to happen sooner than later.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to put it on there, even though it wasn't submitted, or just make a note of it. I don't know. It's up to you.
So Jay and Anita have access through ClearGov.
Okay.
And so what I'd like to request is that if you want that added, if you could just,
All right.
let's go through them to put it in there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And yeah, absolutely no issue.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. So to just keep going, so all these ones with zeros next to them here were not requested for fiscal 23. These are just assets that are showing up on the list. So I won't spend a ton of time on them. Radio console, I think, is part of an ongoing conversation about regionalization and whether or not the town of Grafton is interested in going that route. It's very early in that process to see if that's something that we're indeed going to pursue. Landscaping the front slope. So in the front of the police department is that big drainage swale. It's frequently overgrown and collects a lot of garbage off the road. So the chief would like to turn that into a stone slope that requires less maintenance and potentially looks a lot cleaner. I would like to turn that into a potentially, I guess, a bigger project where we redo the municipal sign that's down there. And I have not, this is just sorry, I got two kids screaming at each other right outside the door. It's bedtime. It's time to fight it out. So we, I would like to pursue doing some kind of a signboard there that could be used for messaging with the public on that corner. One that both better denotes where the municipal center is, but also you could, display messaging to the residents. I know we do that a lot down at the other intersection with the signboards from the highway department. But it would be nice to have kind of a maybe I don't want to insult the highway department, but maybe like a classier place to do that. And so we're gonna not fund that in fiscal 23, the slope, and come up with kind of a more holistic design for that whole section.
You're saying we need to update the town sign bylaws.
I think we might, and that's why I'm real careful on how I'm presenting that, because I think that there might need to be some changes there as well. But you also, it might not be something we want to pursue in the long run because you don't want to open Pandora's box and change signage for everywhere in Grafton. So that it's going to require more conversation, but it's something that has been discussed at our department head meetings. Is something that people think would be a cool idea. Zero turn mowers are out in 24-25. Replacing the trackless. This is a machine that we use for sidewalks as well. This is kind of our main machine. And so that's not out. That's 24-25. Two more trucks and another truck and a loader. They're not in fiscal 23. So South Grafton Community House, we have to open that to see that. That's not a great description that was entered there. Ramp replacement, I don't know about this project, and that's why it's not funded. Plus it's $100,000 request. So this is a request to replace the ramp that's in the front of the building that has some damage to it, but this price includes it being created into a heated walkway so that it doesn't need to be shoveled. I'm just not sure that that building is used enough to get Evan to sign on to that. So we're gonna have more conversations about that. I don't know that that's a great use of. You know, it's nice, but do we really need to do that, or can I do a ramp project for 25,000 and then do $75,000 worth of work somewhere else? The Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, the building I work in, is not sprinkled. And so that's definitely something that we should be looking at and pursuing and having conversation around. We do need to fund a study of that. It just didn't really bubble up to the surface in this particular plan. Accessibility, we just decided to fund. That's that back door we talked about by the elevators. That's I think great. We covered the election cameras. We covered the kiosks. Engine one, we've already done that. It just shows up as a 0 because, like I said, we're holding out that money. Repave the municipal center parking lot. This is something that I added. It's a huge expense. I did not think we were going to fund it in fiscal 23, but I wanted to start having a conversation about it and at least put it somewhere because we are going to need to do it. You know, I mentioned, I think maybe at the select board meeting or previous FinCom, you know, we're spending money making the building accessible, but you can't really get to the building without going through, you know, some pretty inaccessible areas. And it's definitely something that we need to think about doing. I mentioned solar canopy before. I have seen communities that do a solar canopy and get the parking lots paved as gratis through their power purchase agreement. We have a lot of space and I don't think you'd make the whole thing. So that might be just pie in the sky, but again, I think it's something that needs to be considered. I don't think it's something that needs to be done in fiscal 23. Replacing Tower 1 is out there at, I think, fiscal 25. That's $1.9 million request. In talking to Chief Canoyer, he doesn't think that that's really necessary in the timeframe that we're talking about. And so that's part of their ongoing truck replacement schedule conversation that they're having. And we already talked about the senior center minivan. Greg.
So the sprinkler design, is that like a safety issue at this point? Something that we should, because I figure it's gonna, looks like this is just design. So if we do design this year, we might be able to explore installation next year as a capital plan. So if we push it out, it's gonna be at least another 2.5 years before it's available. Is that worth?
Yeah, I mean, is it a safety concern? Yes. It's been that way for 50 years. And so it winds up, it begs the question, how much of a safety issue is it? Then again, if it catches on fire tomorrow, that's going to be bad for town administrator Evan, having just made that comment. If you folks would like to move that over, I would be in favor of that. I built this plan, with some frugality in mind. I know it doesn't, it's $1.5 million. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I really was trying to be very conscious of where we are ending up. So if people are willing to do that, I don't have a problem. We're more than comfortable with the funding we have, and I could shift
It's
that.
still way less than the 1.8 million that we talked about last night.
Right. I think it was Colleen, then Amy, and you're the chair, Colleen. So I guess you go first.
I appreciate that. I was, and just because it ties on to what we're talking about with the sprinklers, in addition to it being a safety thing, it's only just going to start costing more too. So I think if we just do it, I agree with Greg. That would be one more thing I'd like to see added on.
Okay. Absolutely. Amy?
Yeah, so one thing that I didn't see on this list is a joke book for the town administrator. Get some new material for the town website. because
Do we need new material though, or just more?
better,
material?
better material.
Oh,
Is
I
that
don't know
really a
about that.
capital plan
I
or
think
not
the
the capital?
material is pretty great.
Or we could just do a stand-up night at the South Grafton Meeting House with Evan, and here you go.
Do it as a fundraiser.
That sounds like a fundraiser if I ever heard of one.
Yes. We do get a lot of, interaction on those posts.
So
It's
what
great.
is the total so far of our capital?
Let me just move this
Okay.
last piece over and then we'll go back out to our funded scenario here.
A little over 1.5.
Yeah, and it also helps if Evan is in the right section. No, it's very stressful because nobody watches me fumble with my computer all day at work while I'm fumbling on the screen here. Let's see. Boom, funded. And then we'll go back out to our dashboard.
Evan, any ballpark estimate on, once we've designed it, we talking 50, 100 grand for,
I think it's probably $250,000 would be my guess.
is it? Okay.
Yep.
I guess.
I mean, that
just-
building is what, 55,000 square feet? It's
Yep.
gonna be
Okay.
expensive. And because of its design, it requires the addition of drop ceilings because of the way the sprinklers are gonna be hung. So if
Yep.
you were going to, I mean, I guess you could leave them exposed, but I think it's gonna look, I don't know that the cost.
Modern industrial like the library.
There you go.
Like that.
And maybe we will, Greg, all kidding aside, maybe that's how that ends up, but I still think it's probably, I would guess that's a $250,000 project. I had done a school not too long ago. Roughly the same square footage and it was 100,000 to do half of that. Excuse me.
Yep. So I guess, Colleen, if you're okay, like, I guess. As we think about our priorities, so we're talking about now, 275 grand for that project. I think the parking lot would be more important, for example, than putting sprinklers in. So I don't know how to think about that, but I guess as we're talking about adding this design to the capital plan, are we thinking about the other priorities for that money? Because it's not just the 25, it's the design and implementation of it.
I don't disagree, and I guess that's where the scorecard and that scoring system comes into play. And I know that wasn't super utilized this go around, but it's something that we can tinker with next year for sure. And I think the design would last for a few years as well, right? It wouldn't be we have to just immediately implement it the following year, correct?
Right, yeah, the design would have a cost estimate built into it that has an escalation in it. Quite frankly, in 2022, the escalation doesn't mean a heck of a lot because who the heck knows? We used to build in a 3% escalation and it was fine. It covered everything we were doing. You could do a project 5 years later, you add that 3% escalation, blah, 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 you're good. Steel changed by 9%. That's a whole
Wow.
different ballgame. So let me back up. The design would be fine. I think our cost estimate would be an issue, but I think you're right. We could, if you did the design, it would have a shelf life of probably, 5 years with the understanding that we probably need to, if we wait a few years, we're probably gonna have to pay somebody to estimate the cost again, which is not the most expensive part of it, but.
Got it. All right, well, on that basis, I'm in support of moving that forward. It's fine.
I mean, if you want to pave that parking lot, I'm all right there.
I just want to consider our priorities for, the big items at the mini center. And, that parking lot issue is definitely near and dear to my heart. We have a lot of seniors going to the senior center back there and it's not just not a great experience for them trying to get in and out of there. So I hear you.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. Amy?
Yeah, I see, I kind of share the back and forth on that, but I guess what it comes down to for me is, if there is a fire and that building is destroyed, you know, where does that leave us as a town? You know, it's not like, I guess you move to the South Grafton Community House, but you know, all the records and everything get destroyed. And, you know, I'm definitely concerned about that. I'm shocked that there's no sprinklers in that building. Seeing that it was a school, but I'm with Matt. I think we should do the design on the sprinklers and get that at least on people's radar. Plus, as I said in the chat, I think if we pave the municipal center lot, Sue is going to hurt someone.
I'm gonna-
If we pave the muni center lot before we pave George Hill, you're going to hurt someone.
No, I won't. The
Is
seniors.
it not- is it possible to, and here's my limited, you know, knowledge of how parking lots work. Is it possible to do it partially?
You,
we-
so here's the short answer. Yes. However, you create a cold seam when you stop. And in my experience, my vast parking lot paving experience, that cold seam is exactly where you start having problems, like 5 years after you're done with the lot. So I think it's viable. I think it's something we could definitely consider and discuss to do, you know, start at the senior center and do that section. I also think you might get some economy of scale if we were doing the whole thing in one shot, you know? But I mean, a valid talking point, Amy.
Oh, no, you make it sound really bad. So I once
Well,
again
yeah.
said my question.
I am, that's what I was going for. So I'm glad that that's how that turned out. Yeah, Colleen.
And I don't remember what it's called, and hopefully you do. Do you remember that machine I sent you that some of the towns around here are using where it chews up the existing asphalt and then relays it immediately?
Mhm.
Can we find a town that has one and borrow it to try it out at the municipal center?
Just like a demo.
No, but that's what they've been doing. Some municipalities are borrowing it, demoing it on certain roads to see if they want to invest in the technology. Why not demo it there?
Yeah.
We've already done that on some roads in town, I think.
But let's do
Well,
it in
no,
a
that's-
parking lot. Let's.
No, I
just-
think that's just regular reclamation. So what they do is they take, say the road is 4 inches thick because they've done a base coat. So they reclaim the top, grind that up, take the millings out and put a new top coat on.
Yep.
Where the machine that Colleen is talking about
Takes it.
grinds it off the road, turns it into millings, heats the millings, turns it back into viable asphalt and lays it back down.
Okay, because the one what they've done is that they put up signs that say loose stone and it takes some time to get
That's-
compacted. So
Yeah, that's actually chip sealing, I think they call
yeah,
that.
that sounds,
And that's where they lay down gravel and then cover it with, oil and asphalt and let the cars compact it in.
okay. And it's not a great surface for a
It's
while.
awful. That's how we used to do it. They used to do George Hill Road. They haven't done that in 20 years on George Hill Road.
I was thinking about it,
they-
Sue. I was
They did
like,
it on Milford a few years ago. They did it on part of Ferry Street, I
Yep.
think last summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a
I
mess for
discovered
your
that when
car.
I was out walking one day. It's like, oh, this is not the nice surface it used to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there are some times when you have an asphalt management plan that will call for that because it's gonna, it needs to be done. There's not the funding to do it. You're trying to push the can down the road a little bit.
Yep.
Kick the can rather. But yeah, it's not, it's definitely not optimal. So,
But if
yeah,
I find
I'll let-
someone to let us demo it, can we do it?
okay, yeah.
All right.
Well, let's ask Chief Canoyer. He's got to have some friends.
I
Well,
think Milford
don't
has
know,
one.
but-
I think that's how Hopkinton did it. I saw Hopkinton use it. I think they were demoing it. And I think they borrowed it from Milford, but I can confirm all of that.
But do you have to have a license to use that machine or?
They're not gonna let me use it. I know that for sure.
No, I
I'm
know
using it.
that,
I'm
but-
telling you right now, I'm using it.
Is there somebody in the DPW who would be capable of handling that
Oh,
machine?
yeah, yeah.
I
I'm sure it's-
I
I'm sure
doubt
it's
it.
fine, Sue. It can't be that hard. I'm sure it's fine.
This seems like an excellent opportunity for some of our BVT students.
There you go.
Boy Scouts.
Boy
payback.
Right there,
Scouts.
Boy
Hey,
Scouts.
my daughter's learning to
Boy Scouts
drive.
can't operate
Yeah,
power.
there you go. We'll put Jeremy, we'll put her on there. The rule is if you want a new exciting piece of equipment, Evan gets to drive it.
Ah,
Otherwise, it does not meet the list. So,
hmm.
I don't think
Although-
that's in the bylaws.
well, it's in my bylaws. I've created my own set.
You need to put them on the website. We can't
There
follow
you go.
rules we don't know.
Me too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I've got to hop off
gotta
to
go.
the Housing Trust soon. Will you take a motion? Are you guys looking to approve this plan as discussed?
I'm ready for a motion.
Love a motion.
All right, then I move, we vote to accept the 2023 capital plan as amended during discussion.
So moved.
The total amount for the,
you want me to read you the total amount?
yes.
Yep, that would be great.
Or did
$1,509,750.
Second.
second the motion.
I have a
Can you
motion
read
and a
that one more
second.
time, Evan, please?
$1,509,750.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor, Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Matt,
I,
Jeremy,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Colleen, I. Okay, declare the motion carried. Awesome. Well, thanks,
you.
Evan. This was very informative.
Yeah, thank you all. I think, as I discussed, different process next year. We've learned a lot using this new software and platform, and I think next year will be much more collaborative in the reverse that we just did. I would like to note that if you go look at the budget book right now, the capital plan will be updated with everything we just did already. So if you have any questions or want to look back at anything, feel free to just mine that for data.
I'm hoping we can have a discussion before our next capital plan discussion as to how we're going to grade all of these projects. Because I think we need to come to some kind of medium for all of us to agree on how we want to do this.
Well, ClearGov has that scorecard, right?
It does, and we can amend it in any way we want. They give us, I think, 5 criteria to start with. That's their common criteria,
Yeah.
but we can scrap those, add to them, swap them out. We can
Yeah.
make it our own.
I think we need to have that discussion before we look at the next list.
Absolutely. We can most certainly do that. Madam Chair, if you want to make that, after town meeting, maybe put a meeting together and we can do that for criteria forming.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. I'd like to be after town meeting.
After fall town meeting or
No,
spring?
No, spring.
Okay,
I think we would do it and then I can push it out to department heads even earlier and
yeah,
have them start, because it was a compressed window because of when we got the software to be usable and then, it just all kind of ran together. We could start that, in the summertime and give it to department heads for.
That would be good.
fall. Yeah.
So the other thing on our charge is the updating the 5-year plan. So we have one from last year. Should go through that and see what ClearGov can help us with on that front too.
all right.
Always following the rules there. Great. I
Yep.
appreciate that. I forgot
Absolutely.
about, we have to update that 5-year plan.
Yep. I was chuckling because Colleen and I just mentioned that today. We were talking about whether something was going to happen and we said, well, Greg's there. He'll tell us if it's
Yep.
in there. If it's in the rules, we'll be fine.
Greg knows.
Everything.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Evan. This was really a good discussion and
Good. Thank
you
you.
answered all of our questions clearly and concisely. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well,
Maybe
thank you
next
all.
time Jeremy will talk.
I'm in listening mode.
I
You guys,
know.
you guys had it all covered, so.
Where'd your hat go? You were sporting a hat
Oh,
there
it's,
for a little bit.
well, I'm supposed to be on a cruise ship in a week and a half, so
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
it's sun protection.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
well, if nobody has any more questions for Evan, we can let him go, I think.
Yep. Thank you,
Unless you
Evan.
want to stick around, but
No, I'll go. The little one I think is still up, so I'll go put her to bed and
Are
excellent.
you willing to take some dad jokes if we send them to you?
Yes, so Will and I actually have a spreadsheet going.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good.
Oh, yeah, we've like literally it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night and my phone will ding and it's William sending me some stupid dad joke that he found that he wants to put into the queue. So it has been a lot of fun. It's a great way to interact with the residents. They're
I like it. I thought it was good.
people have been having a good time with it. So.
Yep.
Perfect. Amy, is your hand up for real this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For real. What do you call a dead polar bear?
Rug.
Anything you want. He can't hear you anymore.
Oh, geez.
No, my real question for you, Evan, it's
I'm not putting
unrelated.
that on I'm not putting that on Facebook, Amy.
It was in the Ghostbusters movie.
So it's copyright infringement.
Do you think this is totally unrelated? Do you think that you're going to be lifting the mask mandate in the municipal center in the next month?
I
Thought about it.
Yes, I've had some preliminary conversations about that.
Okay.
I honestly, I wanted to confer with Jay.
Okay.
I've tried to stay, be in solidarity with Jay on a lot of these issues. So I
Okay.
will be talking to him about that as we approach the 18th and then subsequently the 28th. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Greg, you gonna call her out because that wasn't on the agenda, or should I?
Point of order.
Not official committee business.
He just
I
thought-
told you I needed to ask him a question, Madam Chair.
You did. You did.
But she didn't know it was going to be out of order though, right?
Yeah, right.
No, I just knew it was a question.
That's right. You're innocent.
All right, well, let's let Evan go so that we can move on and wrap
Thank you,
up.
Evan.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
The host, right?
I really do appreciate all your work with me on this and the latitude you've given me and the the straightforward conversations we're able to have. I really do appreciate it. It's helpful.
But
So
before
thank
you
you very
leave, you
much.
need to make Colleen the host again,
Oh, yeah,
or else you'll end the meeting for us.
Well,
is that how Zoom works?
hold on. I'm working on it.
All right, thank you.
All right. I'm out. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Right.
Good
So the
night.
next thing on the agenda was to recap the meeting with CPC. The biggest takeaway was that Evan did apply to have the South Grafton Meeting House, $50,000. So we'll find out more. I think they meet again at the end of this month, but he made it in for the deadline, so that's good. But does anybody else want to speak on that meeting at all?
Yes.
Go, Amy.
So after we all got off that call, I would encourage everybody who didn't stay on to go back and watch the end of it. Greg and I stayed on, and the idea that I brought up during the meeting of the schools applying for the playground, they started discussing it again without having seen the proposal and still talking about, I think she's going to have a tough time with that. And Jim Gallagher is still asking, well, am I the only one that thought this wasn't okay? So it's clear that there's definitely going to be some reticence there. I did make sure that the application got submitted. It got submitted. I got a response, and I was asked to attend a hearing. I think it's going to be in March. It might be the end of the month, but anyway, it kind of bothered me that that they were discussing things that haven't been submitted yet, and making judgment calls. Oh, it's Thursday the 24th at 7. It's going to be the hearing. So yeah, that really bothered me that I don't feel like they're giving every project that gets submitted the same treatment. They walked the Unitarian Church folks through their application, and they seem to be talking very favorably about the project, again, not having had the meeting about it. So I'm concerned about that. So I wanted that out in the public record that I don't think we're going to get a fair shake on this, and I don't think the community house is going to get a fair shake either, because I think they're going to pass that off as, well, that's painting and we can't just cover painting. And that's not what it is. It's preservation of the facility. If we don't do the painting, it's going to start to rot. And anyway, I'm rambling now, so I'll stop. I have concerns. There it is.
All right. Heard your concerns. I don't want to do what they, you know what I mean? I don't want to say what we think they're going to say either and then go down the same rabbit hole, but you know, concerns heard. Good idea to go back and watch it because I certainly didn't stay on, so I'll do that. Thank you. Did anybody else have a comment about that? All right.
Well, I just didn't get a lot out of the meeting.
It's-
I don't know what, I wasn't expecting anything because I didn't want to have any expectations, but I was hoping I would glean something new, but I didn't, so.
Same, Sue. It was weird. They sent the invite in December saying, do you guys want to meet? But then didn't really indicate what they wanted to meet about. And, you know, shame on me for not asking. I certainly didn't ask. But when we showed up, I thought they were going to be presenting to us and they were looking for us to present to them. So I think next time, I appreciate the idea of trying to still collaborate. That for sure, it seems like we're heading in the very slow but right direction with that. So
I agree. I think we should still collaborate with them on some basis, but we need to have a clear direction when we meet with them of what we're going to discuss and make it a fruitful, meaningful discussion because I think we need to build a little bit more trust with them.
I agree.
I think there still seemed to be the expectation that we as CIPC would be bringing projects to them rather than suggesting to project sponsors that the project sponsors go to CPC for that. And I think we need to make sure that it's clear to them that that is not part of our charge. We don't solicit funding for the projects.
I didn't get that impression, Greg, because first of all, I mean, some of those people have been through the whole process and they know what the capital budget is. You may have seen it like that, but I didn't. So, but
I believe there were some questions about, are there any projects that you are bringing forward to us and things like along that line is what I heard from some of them.
right, well, I missed that then.
Yeah, I think they were kind of saying things that we identified that could qualify, not necessarily that we would be bringing it, but that we might have flagged to send back to them.
That could be.
Yeah. But I think there is like an ideology thing there too with some of the members that just think if it's on the capital plan, it just shouldn't be funded at all. It should never make the capital plan to even be considered. And I think that's something I'd like to break because I don't think that's the correct way to view it at all, but that's me. All right, so if we're all done with this discussion, we can move on to minutes. I'm gonna stop writing the dates on here because it kind of pigeonholes us. We're gonna add a second set of minutes that Greg caught that from 2020 that we never approved. It was 21?
Yes.
Oh, and that's what it was. I found the 2020 date and
You
okay.
found the 2020 minutes, which
Yeah.
had the exact same date as the 2021 minutes that we hadn't approved yet.
Yep. So either way, we're going to approve both of those tonight if everybody's comfortable with doing that because it's kind of just standard business and go forward with there. We can take a motion. Maybe Greg has that handy.
So the dates are September 23rd, 2021, January 20th, and January 27th of 2022. So that includes our last CIPC meeting and a joint meeting with CPC.
I move that we approve those minutes as presented by Greg.
Second,
Motion made in second. Any discussion? All those in favor, Greg,
Aye.
Jeremy,
aye,
Kyle,
Hi.
Amy,
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Calling aye. Okay, motion carries. And then upcoming meeting dates. We talked about doing one after Springtown meeting. Is there any reason you guys want to meet again before that or?
No.
Okay,
I guess one question. I know that Evan is planning on getting some of these grants sorted out before the town meeting. But we need to, if some of those things moved off the capital plan and other things moved on, we need to re-meet to vote on the new capital plan, or no?
Not
We could-
necessarily. Sorry, so you can go for it.
Well, I think we would need to reconsider our vote if things change. Because the bottom number may change. So we would have to reconsider the vote and vote the correct number.
I think as our role is to recommend to the town administrator, and then the town administrator presents to finance committee and town meeting. I think we could consider that we are done for the year as far as the current capital plan goes.
Except that we just made a motion for the amount of money to recommend to him. And he's,
Yeah.
Right, and at
But
the
he
end, it's
takes it
just a
from here.
recommendation, so he can change that. But it's a good idea, Kyle. The other thing is the grants might not come in before town meeting, right? So it could come in after, and then that money would still get applied, and then that money would roll back
most
into,
of the grants will come in after town meeting.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for the clarification. It was just a closing question.
All right, so we'll meet again after Springtown meeting. If anything else kind of comes up, I'll shoot you guys an email and we'll just meet, but I don't foresee that.
Colleen, can we have our meeting down at the South Grafton Community House?
Yeah, I've been thinking that. I like Zoom so much, but why not? I like it down there. We can have snacks.
That way Amy can get an eyeful. So,
I'm excited for the crooked room.
Do we need to meet to work on the 5-year plan before then, or do we want to just wait till after?
I'm
town
okay with
meeting.
waiting till after, because there is a 5-year plan that was generated in ClearGov. So it's not that there isn't one that exists.
Okay.
There is one that exists. So
yeah.
I'm
That's
comfortable
the
with
one
waiting.
that was the one we presented to Carter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, no, all we'd have to do is meet to discuss the grading system.
Okay.
So he can, because I think he's gonna meet with the department heads again in August, probably,
Hmm.
to discuss this, so.
Okay.
I like the idea of snacks.
I love snacks. All right. I will take a motion to adjourn if everybody's all set.
So moved.
Second,
All right. Motion made second. Greg,
Aye.
Jeremy,
aye.
Kyle,
Hi.
Amy,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody.